Hey everyone, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope I'm catching most of my friends over in Europe. That'd be kind of fun. I was going to be on about an hour and a half ago, but got sidetracked, got called into work for a little technical emergency. Not a big deal, but had to resolve that before I could jump on the air. So I'm going to give a second for the chat to fill up. Let me know if you can hear and see me okay, and let me know if YouTube is doing that weird thing where the audio doesn't sync up with the video. And so if you hear my voice sound strange, it's just because fighting off allergies. It's been a rough season for allergies around here for me. But other than that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. I do have sort of a more, I guess, going back to my more traditional WYR reforging setup as far as topics and that kind of stuff, which I do want to get back into. A lot of it's just been hobby hangouts lately, which is fun. But I kind of like the thing where if I'm getting games in consistently, I want to talk about them and hobby progress and that kind of stuff. So that is what we're going to do. So without further ado, we're going to head. Let me pull up my notes here to remind me what to talk about. I always start off these shows talking about hobby progress. So talking about what I'm going to be working on for the day. Let me get this space cleared off here and we'll go to the downward cam. And as far as stuff that I have done, I finished painting a bunch of scryer things, which I will post pictures of on Instagram here in a little bit once I get my light box all set up. But in addition to that, I started base coating my molder dudes. Got 4 rat ogres, and I think potentially more molder stuff on the way, which I'm very excited about because molder is, I think, one of the better clans when it comes to where Skaven is now. If you want to focus on one specifically, I think my hierarchy goes pestilence, molder, maybe scryer below them, and then everything else. And so yeah, we got them primed and base coated. In addition to that, I went ahead and built the endless spells for Skaven. So there's that. Here's that the vortex thing that everyone's scared of, and it makes a triangle. It's ridiculous. And the Vermintide, or whatever it's called. I can't remember. It's not Vermintide, I don't think. But yeah, big old rat swarm, something like that. So I'm most interested in this one, to be honest with you. Because there's so many weird nooks and crannies, I decided to do the basing texture stuff before I prime it. And then I'll go through and dry brush it. It just seemed too hard once you paint the rats to get in there and do the basing last like I normally do. So it's a new thing. We'll try it and see if it works out. But this is the spell I'm most interested in by quite a margin. Simply because, one, it can't hurt me, it hurts my opponent, and I can walk over it. And this is a huge base to walk over. Let me get something for comparison's sake. Of course I say that, but I don't have a model near me. Okay, here's a Banshee that my wife painted forever ago on a 32 mil to give you a sense of size perspective. And so I can use this as a bridge, which I'm very, very excited about. So what I mean is, say I have like clan rats on this side, and I put this endless spell in front of them, and they get locked in combat. Well, they can retreat and charge. They can retreat, go over the bridge, and then charge something in my opponent's back line. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just mechanically, it sounds like the most interesting one. So I'm very excited to get that all done. All right, I see the chat's filling up. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Let's see, Vinny the Ever King. Hello, man. Thank you all so much for joining me on Twitch and on YouTube. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've been working on. A lot of building lately, and a lot more to come, because that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing for most of the show today. Unfortunately, my Storm Fiends and all that stuff is still packed up, but I'll get pictures of them up on Instagram today. Should be a link for that down below on the YouTube site page, and I'll put links up eventually for the Twitch stuff. So anyway, that is pretty much what's going on there. Let me get what I'm working on today out. If you can't read it, it is Plague Monks. So, this is going to fit into the greater discussion of today's episode, but the real theme of the whole thing. And at some point, I'm going to have Jack from Ruling Ones on. We're gonna hash this out in a little bit more detail. But plague stuff, the clan pestilence, has been super intriguing to me lately. But before I get to that, actually, that's the main topic for the show. We'll pause that. So yeah, I'm building a bunch of Plague Monks today. And it's cool as they have a whole bunch of these huge rats on them, like for basing stuff. But if you just put them on a 25 mil, they very well count as just giant rats, like the unit giant rats. So I think you can get almost 20 out of this set. Like, it's pretty great. I already have 20 made up from a previous thing, the Plague Monks that I turned into Scryer Acolytes. So I already have a bunch of those. So with those, all of those rats and the we call them rat ogres, that's quite a few molder things going on. So I can actually probably pretty soon field a decent molder list. Yeah. So we'll talk about games played last night as I bust out the instructions for these dudes. They're like 4 pieces, so they're not very complicated. And we're just going to start basically clipping out bodies. Get the pieces out of the way so they're not clinking and making a whole bunch of noise. I'm going to move my light so it's a little bit more focused. There we go. So games played. I played 1 game last night at our local gaming group. It's kind of our first day of spring here in the Seattle area. And so, yeah, not a lot of people showed up to our weekly game night, which is totally fine. You know, it's not a weekly mandatory thing. And so I was there challenging a awesome gentleman named Ben, and he brought 1,000 points of Night Haunt. I believe he's just getting back into the game after a long hiatus. And yeah, we had a great game. So I took, in my list, it was an Arch Warlock, the 3 Storm Fiends, 10 Scryer Acolytes, 40 Clan Rats, and 2 units of 20 to make my battle line. What else did I have? I had something else. Warlock Bombardier, and I think that was pretty much it. Sadly, I left my gnaw holes at home, which is so sad because I spent so much flipping time on those stupid terrain pieces. It's just I put them in, they're kind of a weird shape, so I put them in a secondary box to carry with me, and I just completely forgot it because that's what I do. And yeah, basically the way it unfolded, we played Battle for the Pass. Just a simple, you know, 4 objectives. Let's all just, you know, have a reason to move and scramble for them. And the thing is about Scryer that I've learned, or am learning, is that the real strength of them comes from the Warp Lightning Cannon, which does mortal wounds, and Rend. Like, their guns are just impressive. And when you have Night Haunt who don't care about Rend, that is a recipe for a bad situation. And so, yeah, it kind of came up to be like, he let me go first. So I bolted forward, sat on the objectives with, you know, 20 clan rats on each side. And the rest of the game was him just chipping me away because I wasn't doing anything to him. I mean, admittedly, he was getting some killer rolls. And we both acknowledged that, like, he made some of those long bomb charges that if you're a Night Haunt and you make a charge that's a natural 10 or more, you get to attack immediately and then go on later and fight again later in the combat phase. And he did that twice to me in the game. And he's like, this has never happened before. I'm like, don't worry about it, man. It happens. Like, he was a super nice guy. Him and his son were there just having a blast. Hopefully he had a good time. And yeah, he cleaned my clock. His little boy was sitting there. He's like, this is a massacre. I'm like, yeah. Just because he was acing the save rolls, and without Rend, most of the stuff, you know, a lot of the things I have, like the Acolytes, if their attacks go through, it's -2 Rend, right? They should go through. If they do, it's D3 damage, which is like devastating to Night Haunt stuff because most of it's 1 wound, but it just, nothing was going through. So it is what it is. I had a good time. Got to roll some dice. We laughed a lot. He got to see his Night Haunt be amazing. I'll try to post some pictures up on the Instagram and Facebook page of the game. He actually has a unit of Night Haunt, which I love, which is, I think, it is one of the Shadespire warbands, like the Mirmorn Banshee ones. I don't know, they have bases already done, like scenic bases. I assume they're part of Shadespire or Nightvolt, but I can't remember which set, if that's them. But it's like 4 of the ethereal Banshee ladies who are screaming and howling. And he painted them to be like the ghost from Pac-Man. It's like one's blue, one's orange, one's pink. And so I thought it was just funny. I was like, anyone who walked by, I was like, hey, look at this. Do you get it? Do you get it? And I just thought it was awesome. So, yeah, he was a super cool opponent. He's had a great time. And then it was a 1,000 point game. So it ended with plenty of time for him to step out and make his next appointment. And it was just super, super cool experience. I'm glad he came out to the weekly group. But like I said, it was a pretty light night in terms of folks coming out, just because I think most people were enjoying the sun for the first time in Seattle for a while. And yeah, it was just me, him, and Adrienne, who's in the chat. Hello. And she was doing some hobby, so I played my game with Ben, chatted with a follower, watcher of the show who was traveling and in town for a little bit. We hung out and chatted for a while. Had an awesome experience there. And then, what else? Yeah, I just kind of hung out and caught my breath. My allergies have been killing me lately, so like staying up super late, not that great feeling. So after that, I was like, it's about 9:30. It's time to go home. Usually I leave around 11 after at Mox, so at game night, I mean. But that was my one experience. And I'll kind of transition here. It got me thinking a lot about what I want out of Skaven. Now, I am going to play Scryer when I travel because they're super easy to carry. Like, there's just very few models. They're very elite, expensive points-wise, and that makes them perfect. I mean, like actually perfect for just something to travel with. And everything can overcharge and explode in your face, and it makes for some fun laughing experiences, that kind of stuff. So I think it's the perfect army to just travel around, not take things super seriously, and just have a good time. Side note, I was having a discussion with, this, you know how like if you have a new idea, it's really just like one stroke of inspiration. It's like a bunch of little things happen in your life, and you kind of form these things over time. One of them was I had an increasing interest in War Machine and Hordes lately, and I was really considering like getting back into that game. And I was about to, until I tried actually jumping into their community, which is just it's a mess right now. And I don't mean because the people are bad. I'm sure they're great people. The thing is that they have this thing called the CID where it's like community integrated development, where they include players to, like, they'll release like, here's some beta rules, play it for 3 weeks or a month, and then we can make changes based on that. The thing is, it makes a really weird game state where it's like, how do you get started when everything's kind of in this weird, ever-changing sort of amorphous place? And so I just really have struggled with trying to get back into it. And so I had a little moment to myself to be like, first of all, do you really want to get back into War Machine Hordes? I mean, I was not scorned. I didn't like have a bad experience or anything like that. It's just, I like the painting and the narrative stuff from AOS a whole lot more. Even 40k players around here, like, they do a lot more hobby than the PP games, like Privateer Press games that I see locally. And what I really started to think about was like, what am I actually missing from my time when I was playing War Machine and Hordes? And I think part of it was I really was actually engaged with multiple parts of the hobby. By that I mean, I did the painting for a lot of folks because no one liked painting. And I like the story stuff. But also, when I played War Machine and Hordes, I was actually very involved in tournaments, just local events. I was back in Iowa at the time, so went to Des Moines and Iowa City, did a few things, Ames, just a lot of cool stuff. And I was like, I think maybe I'm just missing that. Like, like playing at a tighter rule set and a higher level, thinking more critically about things. Because as much as I love the creativity around the lore and trying to bring that stuff to life, like, it's a different part of your brain that gets engaged when you start playing competitively. And I was like, I think maybe I just missed that. And so it got me on a track of like, why don't I, I can still do my army swapping like I do because it was stupid of me to think that I would change my ways. But have an eye for like competitive play. Why don't I just pick something and learn it well, and start going? Because there's a ton of events locally. There's at least one every month, sometimes two. So why don't I just try jumping in with that stuff? And so, of course, when I thought of that, I'm going to grab my next sprue here. My first thought was, oh wait, hold on a second. This requires a minute amount of reading because there are like a bajillion options on these dudes. My initial thought was like, well, I should go talk to Jack because he's been super plugged in to the tournament scene locally for about, I think, a year and a half, 2 years maybe. Okay, hold on. What do I want? I want the Contagion banner, which I don't know what that is because there's nothing for it. Okay. Icons. Oh, I see. Okay, you just got to pick the option. Okay. We are good. And they got rid of the scroll. Okay, so we need the book and all the banners and crap. Okay. They modified the Plague Monk War Scroll a little bit with options with that, so it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Anywho, we need the book. So I was like, yeah, I'll talk to Jack about that. And that was kind of my first stop, so to speak. And I had a really good chat with him. We were just chatting about, like, as far as, like, basically when he started playing competitively locally, I think his first event he went to, he just straight up won it. Part of that is because no one else was playing his super shooty Stormcast locally, and they were brutal. And I think another part was, he was just new to the scene. People weren't used to him. That's awesome that he was able to do so well. Yeah, I think that's the right arm. Okay. And where's those instructions? He's got a sword. Sorry about that. I'm trying to read and do this at the same time. So I was just thinking to myself, like, I talked to Jack, ask him about it. And the kind of conclusion I came to was like, well, I need to stick to an army and learn it well, which is pretty obvious. I keep hindering my learning process by swapping every couple of weeks. And then in addition to that, let's see. So we need a left arm. Here we go. I need to get a list with some teeth in it, because one of the things he first mentioned was that the power level, I guess, of folks, with like competitive lists and that kind of stuff has really ramped up pretty recently. And so his list that he came in and swept the first event with, all of a sudden, I think he's pretty consistently come in second or third. Like, there's just been a power creep. Not power creep, that more refers to like battle tomes that are being printed, but an escalation in player aptitude. People are getting better at the game, which is good. That's a good thing. And so we started talking about different ways to go with Skaven. And one of the things I've mentioned it before to my patrons, is as far as I kind of struggle lately with Scryer stuff on a gameplay level. Like, I love the aesthetic of it all. The reason I struggle with it is because it just adds a whole bunch of decision-making points with the Warpstone tokens that aren't there if you play any kind of other Skaven stuff. Like, if you go... I'm trying to think how to explain this. You have to think about Warpstone tokens. You have to keep track of all the spells that you just unleash, because they all have the potential to give you damage the next round. It's just a lot of stuff, like, mentally. Hold on a second. That kind of gets in the way and bogs me down. And so I was like, why don't I try to build something that is Skaven? Because, I painted those gnaw holes, and those things are no joke. They were a pain in the butt. So, like, why don't I... paint stuck. Glue stuck, I mean. Why don't I stick to Skaven, try to find a type of Skaven that I really enjoy, and just go from there. So, I know I'm rambling a bit. I'm trying to get my glue. Here we go. But, yeah, so sticking with Skaven. What kind of Skaven do I like? What's the play style? And I realized the armies that I tend to play and really enjoy are the ones that are super aggressive, like melee-oriented aggressive. And Scryer is anything but that, pretty much. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited to try something else. Like I said, Scryer is going to be the travel army because it is so easy to transport. But I'm looking at Pestilence and being like, well, it just seems more up my alley in terms of, like, when I say that I want to play Flesh Eater Courts, Flesh Eater Courts is, at its core, just a whole bunch of basic attacks. No rend, just a whole bunch of basic attacks. And that is also what Pestilence offers, but it offers it on a completely different scale. Like an immense amount of scale. And so I don't mind painting horde armies. I think that's kind of the plan. So locally, and certainly on my channel and Rerolling Ones, there is going to be some clan pestilence action. It might come to Nova. I don't know. We'll see how good it is. If it's really good, I want to bring at least some of it to the doubles. We made a list where 1,000 points was, I think, 63 models, something like that. So that's not, that's not terrible. Move this stuff out of my way. It's kind of hard to glue stuff down when I'm trying to reach over. So that wouldn't be too bad. So I'm going to pause here on that thought and just kind of hit the chat real quick. Let's see here. Digital and Dice played War Machine for a grand total of 2 months and couldn't get into it. I really enjoyed it, but I realize now that the things that I enjoyed about it most were the specific people in the scene back in Iowa. And there's no replacement for people, you know what I mean? Gaming groups come and go and they change, and then we moved away and that was stuff, but like, yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Grab a star collecting box for the army you like. Or that. Yep. Jack says he's been in it for 10 months. Okay, sweet. Adrian asked, did you notice the group of people who are playing War Machine every Thursday? Yes and no. I noticed that people show up with War Machine, but they rarely ever actually play. Last night, they just kind of came, took over 2 tables, and walked away and ate dinner, I guess. I don't know. Playing is a strong word. Let's see. Michael, thanks for joining a live stream. Shades Light, do you ever get self-conscious about your hands when you start streaming like this? No, not really. The self-conscious stuff more comes from the face region. But, get some bases pulled out here. I do feel better when I paint and I stream because I feel like watching somebody paint is at least more visually engaging than building models, especially because it's a lot less noisy. That's my opinion anyway. Let's see. Just go Verminous. You can use more of the same models for both. I get that. I think the thing is going pestilence heavy. One, stays narratively in the wheelhouse that I like as far as like picking a clan and sticking with it. But then also they can be just brutal. And so we'll talk about those things in a little bit. This section of the show is more about my drive to becoming more competitive. Rather than in a second, I'm going to talk about my actual plans for Pestilence. So, let's see here. Kevin Potter, hey Doug. The way, mate, when I said a guy on the side of the mountain, I meant Game of Thrones. I'm not sure I caught that one. Okay. Michael Hornell says, good evening and morning from South Korea. Whoa, that's cool. Tab says, hey, that guy almost got my Flesh Eater Court ready to go. Want to do a test game sometime. Do you live locally? I have no idea. I've never met you as far as I know. And let's see. Could anyone say me what's these Plague Monks edition? I'm not sure I completely understand your question. The language barrier is a little bit rough. Are you asking how old are the Plague Monk kits for Nerglet on Garapato? I believe that's how you pronounce it. If you could clarify your question, if you're asking how old they are or how they stack up compared to Clan Rats, you can answer either of those. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of my let me get the other. I'm just gonna do all this stupid banner stuff first. That way I can just kind of rapid fire through the other things. But anyway, that's kind of the direction I'm headed towards when it comes to just building an army, and I think that's super exciting at the time. So what's cool about Skaven is they are so like diverse from an army building perspective that you can have your just for fun in quotes army, like the Scryer stuff I'm going to do, and then you can have sort of your hardcore competitive stuff, which to me is kind of what I'm looking at when it comes to more of the plague stuff. I think I definitely want that to be my focus on competitive play. And the reason is that it can really give people the feel badsies at a 2,000 point level. You know what I mean? Let's see. So we got to build an instrument. Yes. I don't know what any of these banners are because like they're not clearly labeled on the build instructions. So I'm just gonna start building crap and we're gonna see what it turns into. I feel like as long as I have one of everything, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Let's see. Let me get that page pulled back up again. Someone asked, why not a mixed list? I definitely think a mixed list is likely the most effective. But here's the thing. If I want to get back into competitive play, I'm going to play also what I want to play. And I tend to like lists where there's a focus. Doom gong. So I'm assuming this big old thing is a gong. And this one is probably the banner. So that's what we're going to assume. Sorry about that. This is why I typically don't enjoy building whilst I stream, because it requires a little bit more focus to know what everything is as you're building it. So these are both right arms, so I need 2 left arms. Un. And dos. We'll grab 2 heads. We can at least get all of the banners and stuff built. Okay. Apologies. Now we should have at least all of the, what do you call, what's the word, accoutrements? All the extra stuff so I can just focus on this. Yeah, so I do want to start doing more competitive stuff. I'm going to start going to more tournaments locally, and that was something I said I wanted to do when I did my 2019 resolutions. People tend to focus on the Beast of Chaos one, which I ultimately failed at, and I super own up to that, but I did it so that I could have other stuff to transport and move around, and yeah. So as far as why pestilence and not Skaven in general, one, I like Plague Monks, their War Scroll, far more than I like Clan Rats. And if I'm going to paint 60 of them, or 60 of something, I want it to be something that I'm super pumped about. And the reason is I don't like... You see some armies that have battle line that contribute to the game in meaningful ways, and you have some armies where the battle line exists to sit there on an objective and die. And to me, Clan Rats are not meant to do real work. Like, for example, Daughters of Cain, right? Witch Elves, they do work. They kill stuff dead, but Clan Rats, that's not your focus when you bring 40 Clan Rats. You bring them to set an objective. And there's myriad of ways to make them battle shock immune in this army. And you just ask your opponent, can you kill these while ignoring the other crazy, ridiculous things in this faction? And it's a super valid question, you know, from a list building perspective. But I want my battle line to contribute more to the game. I want them to be aggressive and scary. And I think that Plague Monks do that in spades, because you can easily get them up to 7 attacks apiece on the charge. And I just think they can be rough. They can be powerhouses. As far as the individual clans, which is how I want to play the game, I think they are by far one of the strongest. If for no other reason, then most of the Skaven battalions are meh at best, and theirs are more than meh. They're pretty good. Okay, this is just not wanting to sit up here for me. But so I think there's more. Oh, got a subscriber, Magnasty05. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. So yeah, so I definitely want to focus on one clan, just from an aesthetic reason. You know, if I'm going to be playing competitively, I still want to play stuff that I like. And doing so with Pestilence, because I think genuinely that they are the strongest of the mono clans. Part of it is they were just fleshed out because they had their own book. Like, there's just something to be said for having had your own book. Let me see here. Piece of flash was right where this needs to go. Does that look right? That does look right. Sweet. Okay. And I thought about doing the whole, like, just make 60 clan rats and then you can take literally whatever you want. I just don't think they're that great in their units of 20. They get their value when they're a max unit of 40. For sure. And that's a sentiment that was echoed by several people reviewing the book who know far more about competitive play than me. But yeah, let me hit up the chat here. Hello, Doug. 20 Plague Monks left to detail and shade as toned since last Saturday, Sunday. Sweet. Awesome, awesome. Hello from Nova Scotia. I love it. Let's see here. LX tab, blades or staff. They're going to have a blade in one hand and a staff in the other to maximize the number of attacks. And also because the staff gives them a 2-inch range with so many bodies, you want a 2-inch weapon. So, and because they're just Skaven tied units, they get +1 to hit and wound if they're in a unit of 30. So that's pretty sweet. Tyler Cole says, I'm planning on grabbing 120 clan rats and then changing the support for them between Scryer, Molder, and of course the Verminous heroes and units. Yeah, dude. So like that's kind of a really great. If you want a good overall Skaven army, starting off with 120 clan rats is definitely just a great way to go. But I want to do something more specific. We'll talk about the things that pestilence can do here in just a bit. 1989, Jim Bob, 82+ stuff, relatively new sub, and I love the content. The only feedback I would give is that I would love to see some playlists to follow. I have a myriad of playlists, from Age of Sigmar lore to WYR Reforging. If you go to my channel, you can see playlists on top. You can pick out any one of them. I do it faction specific, Age of Sigmar lore. Follow your heart's content. Vinny the Everking, is the lore or the gameplay most important to you when building an army? The thing is, I feel like the lore for this game is so open purposefully by their writers that you can, it's designed to let you do whatever you want. So like, it's important when I think about allies, like would this faction ally with this other faction, that kind of stuff. But within a single battle tome, I don't think about the lore very much because I feel like the writing is at a point now where it's so good that it doesn't feel like a hindrance. So I kind of just do whatever I want there. When it comes to building an army, it's more about, one, can I remember these rules? Are these units effective? That kind of stuff. And when I say effective, I don't mean like broken levels of effective. I just mean like, do I have someone who can run and grab an objective? Okay, cool. Do I have someone who can, I don't know, shoot somebody else off an objective? Okay, cool. Like, it's just very like surface level, those kinds of questions. So, yeah. Let's see. Brother versus sister of mine, Nerdle. Doc Bravo. Are free people generally not featured on YouTube? Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at this. Not on YouTube as much due to being relatively dull in the lore. No, free people exist a lot in the lore. They just don't exist a lot in the model ranges. And so, unfortunately, I wish there was more representation of them on YouTube. It's just not something that, at this point, I'm willing to go out and buy an army to make happen. But I would like it. I think they are... I will say they are my favorite of all of the General's Handbook's allegiance abilities. They are my favorite. Like, straight up. They're just cool. But it's just one of those things that, like, I don't want to buy the faction knowing there's probably going to be more coming and then have to buy more stuff. I just want to see what it is in totality and then I'll invest from there. But I know if anyone else is like me, then Free People, I think, is just a super important faction that just hasn't gotten enough love from GW to incite buyers yet. Which is a shame. They show up prevalently in the lore. Like, they're kind of everywhere. Which is really cool. We just don't see them a whole lot. Let's see here. Kevin Botter, I have a large Skaven warband and made one of the Storm Fiends into a champion with a shield and hammer. That sounds amazing. Let's see. Autistic Jarl. That's a funny name. Just layering the skin on my 80 clan rats right now, so this is pretty chill to listen to. Yeah, dude. Hopefully you don't get Skaven fever. Too much Skaven action. Let's see. Dirty Plague Monks. Yeah. So I'm going to transition into... So that was kind of like why I got into competitive stuff. I think I miss it from my War Machine days. And there's a really cool community up here of people. Jack was telling me about, him and his brother joined kind of our local gaming group, which I think I've talked about before, called Victorious Secret. Little play on Victoria's Secret. So, and they've been really enjoying it. And like I went to that. I've been to 2 events so far, and I had a great time with the people at both of them. One of the events, my first one I went to, I made a video about it where things got delayed and I got to buy, and so I just ended up playing one of my 3 games. It was just kind of a frustrating experience, but I enjoyed all the people there, which I think is the most important part. And that's what I missed most from my War Machine days, which is the people, hanging out with folks who have a mutual interest. Let's see. I'm just going to stand him up straight so that plastic glue can dry on the base. He's probably going to need a nickel or something underneath him to keep him balanced. But anyway, yeah, that's what brought me to that point. And then I was like, I want to stick to an army. I need to learn how to play this game very well. And so, I'm already got the gnaw holes done, which is the most infuriating part of playing Skaven. I'm just going to throw that out there, that I hated the models, but they're done. And they look great. They're freaking awesome. Thank you. But yeah, so I got those done. And I was like, but is Scryer the way to go when I want to dive into that? And I'm not having as much fun playing Scryer as I thought I was going to. So I was like, well, what other parts of Skaven do I like? The other armies that I've really enjoyed in my time is just simple, run forward, be super aggressive in melee. I've always wanted to have an army that used prayers prevalently, and Pestilence does that. Everything relies on their prayers and synergies. So I'm very excited about that. Regarding what I'm going to be doing, let me pull up the list I got here. I might throw up World Scroll Builder on the screen just so we can look at something besides this model drawing. Let me see. All right, so we'll go to the screen here just while that thing's drying. I'll probably have another one here drying in a second, so it's nothing fun to look at. Alliance, so it will be, we're going to do Skaven Tide. There's a reason for it, because within the War Scrolls, actually that's not true, we can do Clan Pestilence. For some reason in the app, it doesn't update quite right. If you are a Skaven player, you'll know what I mean when it comes to, if you try to focus solely on Pestilence, it doesn't change things the correct way to make your hero choices line up right. So if we go Pestilence, you can still have a master clan as your general. So if we go with a Verminlord Warpseer as our general, everything else has to be Pestilence. So if we were to do a Corruptor, and what did we do? Oh my gosh, I remember what thing we made. It was ridiculous. We did Congregation of Filth, and I think it was the Virulent Procession. And we needed 2 more Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, which means we need 4 units of Plague Monks. So that brings us up to 1580. So we're going to crank one to 40. 1750. I think this one was 30 and 20, I think. Is that where we're at? 1960, yep. No, actually we can do... No, there's 70 points, right? Yeah. A little pricey for that, but we can probably do... Where is it at? Sorry, this is giving people craziness on their screen. So yeah, we had an extra 40 points. I think at that point I threw in the... What's it called? Vermintide. Oh, it's called Vermintide. Okay, I wasn't crazy. So this is our 2,000 point list that we came up with, where it is a 2-drop army, because the Virulent Procession is all one big thing. Got a whole bunch of Plague Monks. And yeah, no, it's a 3-drop army. So no, it is 2. I'm sorry. So the Virulent Procession is 2 Congregations of Filth plus a Verminlord Corruptor. Each Congregation of Filth is a Plague Priest and 2 units of Plague Monks. So all of those things are 1 drop, 1 Mega Battalion. And then, of course, the Verminlord Warpseer is the second. So that was kind of our thought. And that gives us access to 3 command points from the start of the game. When you start your turn, get 4th. The Warpseer gives you a chance to gain another command point every hero phase. You can also recycle them if he uses them. He has kind of like the Ether Quartz brooch built into him. And then we're going to go from, what is it? I think Shyish? Whatever has the, what's it called? The amulet that keeps you from being immune to rend. So basically he would get a 4-up rerollable that's immune to rend. And I don't know, this whole thing just stacks up. And so basically the idea behind this list, actually I'm going to do the little preview thing so it's a little bit easier to see all at once. So here's the list. Verminlord Warpseer, a Verminlord Corruptor, 2 Plague Priests on Furnaces, a unit of 40, 20, and 30, and 10 Plague Monks, so all different sizes there, for all different threat levels. And then you have the Congregation of Filth, times 2, Villain Procession, and a Vermintide. So, I think it would be kind of fun. The reason I think this would be fun is because, what is that? It is 100 Plague Monks, right? 40 plus 20 is 60, plus 90 plus 10, 100. That's actually exactly what I have once I get this next delivery in the mail. And so all I'll need is another Verminlord kit and a Plague Priest on Furnace kit, and I'll be, boom, done. So actually I have almost everything I need for it. It's kind of cool. And I'm excited about it. 2 drops, which means I'll generally get to go first. I think most of my local meta is like 4 to 6 drops. When I was playing the Beasts of Chaos, I took the Tzeentch Battalion and got a 1-drop army, and people were not ready for that action. And it was awesome. So I can be super aggressive there. And then beyond that, if you're not familiar with it, we can review it when I look down at my book here. But the way it kind of works, and Brennan can apparently testify because he was using it too in the chat. I just saw that. Basically, when you give if you haven't seen the BS, right? If you're not following like Battle Tome reviews, which I don't follow for factions that I'm not super interested in. But basically, the Verminlord Warpseer has a 4-up save, and he can re-roll it because he has this super weird little orb that lets him re-roll his saves in his hand. And if you give him the Ethereal Amulet, it's no rend, so it's a 4-up re-rollable straight up. So that's awesome. Any damage coming at him is half, right? Statistically speaking. Beyond that, he also has a 5-up save to wounds and mortal wounds. And with a command trait, he can pass off wounds on a 4-up to something nearby. I think it's a 4-up, either 4-up, 5-up to Skaven units nearby. So if he's near any one of those huge Plague Monks unit, he can pass off the wounds that go through all of those saves. So there's just a lot of opportunities to avoid damage. So he's a tank. The other one's the Verminlord Corruptor, because I now have access to 4 artifacts. He's going to snag the Sword of Judgment and mess some stuff up. And the 2 Plague Furnaces exist solely to give Battle Shock immunity to something wholly within 13 inches. They're going to race for objectives and just buff everything around them. They also, if you don't know, have basically a weapon that can do, was it D3 plus 3 mortal wounds, like something absolutely insane. I absolutely love it. So, yeah. If you were to stack all the synergies, like let's say we stack all the synergies on a unit. I don't like the whole, when you get inside your mind, everything works perfectly. That doesn't, it never plays that way on a tabletop, right? You can build the coolest synergy in your mind, but then if it doesn't happen that way a lot on the tabletop, it's useless to you. And I try to be wary of that, but the synergies here are not hard to obtain. The Verminlord Corruptor has a command ability he can use where he can pick someone nearby, and they get to reroll, I think, hit or wound rolls. I think hit rolls. And the Furnaces have a prayer that they can pick a unit and give them +1 attack, or another prayer where they can pick a unit and give them reroll to wound rolls. So, getting those plague monks up to extreme numbers with a lot of efficiency is not difficult at all. You can't unbind either of those things because one's a command ability, one is a prayer, and they're just nasty. They're just nasty things. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let me see. Forgive me, I'm still having trouble getting these stupid banners to stand up straight because these models are fiddly. They didn't do a good job of like building their feet flat so they adhere well to things. But once the banners are done, the rest of these will go pretty quick because the base Plague Monk is just not a complicated model. But I do like them. So that's kind of the idea. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going to pop over to the chat here and just see what everyone else is chatting about. Let's see. Since it's the year of the Battle Tomes, what would you like to see GW put out? Free People, more than anything else, honestly, at this point. My two requests were Skaven and Free People. We got Skaven. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, I didn't see how far back I was. Alex Rasmussen, if you have 40 models in one unit, you can have 2 banners and 2 musicians. Yes, you can. I only have this box of 20 right now. The other ones are coming in the mail sometime today or tomorrow. Ashton and Mulder are meant to be the worst now. Having said that, I just bought a Hell Pit Abomination from a GW store 20 minutes ago. Dave, I think that Mulder has game, and I think it has game for a very specific reason, where their battalion allows you to, I think it's one of the strongest one-drop armies in Skaven right now, because it allows you to have multiple Hell Pit Abominations and Rat Ogres and Rat Swarms. Like, I think it's everything that army wants to do, but in a format where you can get a one-drop army, which is pretty sweet. So I think it has game. Do I think it's as amazing? No, because they don't have a lot of shooting and that stuff. Like they have a lot of drawbacks, but the amount of bodies you can put out and the big heavy hitters like the Hell Pit Abominations, I think it has game. I don't think it's going to win anything, but it has game. Let's see. Take a quick sip of water here. Theed the Ogre Killer. I'm working on a pestilence conversions. My army is an insectoid race from the realm of life who were exiled from the realm when they became carriers of the Nurgle diseases they were sent to combat. That's kind of cool. I like that. Let's see. Brennan says I just finished painting my 20 Stormvermin, now converting Scryer Acolytes. Sweet. Hope you enjoyed the ones I put up there. Put a little bit of work into those. It's not very complicated, but yeah. Byron Davis, any sensor bearers, Doug, or is that why you're going woe stays for 2 inches? Yeah, no sensor bearers, mainly because those units are not super easy to get a hold of. But at this point, I just have no reason to get them. I can just field more and more Plague Monks. I love it. Let's see. Just tip for brother. Try including Spike Claw Swarm for Shadespire. They are truly evil. Actually, I just got those from Jack, I think last week. So I do want to try them out at some point. Let's see here. I'll answer that question. As Free Peoples is the battle tome that I want. I'm building as well. You know, it's infuriating. Flamers of Tzeentch. That model is so busy. It's hard to tell what's what. Yep. Yeah, I didn't super enjoy building Tzeentch stuff. Got some discussion on the new Plague Furnace stats. We'll take a look at those in just a second. Plague Monks might be the most choppy thing in AOS. I think they are. Not just because per model. On the charge, just without any buffs, they can do 5 attacks. You get 2 with the... What do you get? No, it's 3. Yeah, on the charge, right, it's 5 attacks because you'll get 3 with the rusty knife and then 2 with their staff thing. Given a 2-inch range and how many dudes are in a unit, that can be a lot of attacks just in general. And so that's important. But then also the thing is, you can make units that are more choppy than them, but a lot of that stuff requires a lot more synergy, whereas the things that make them better when they're already good are very minimal. And I think that's important to remember, is the work it takes to get something to be at optimal efficiency. And there's very, very minimal. And more importantly for me, easy to remember, which is kind of the thing I'm struggling with when it comes to Scryer. One fun option could be Pestilence General with an ally, Great Unclean One, with a bell for a +3 speed. I've considered that. I want to build this out and see how it works first. This is mainly because this is stuff that I'm not far away collection-wise from owning. It seems like a good starting point, and then we can fiddle around with allies and stuff. Dat Turnip, what do you think about General Order armies? I don't have a problem with them. Make a cool story for it. Let's see. Full Metal Benji. Hey, really enjoy your channel. Watch lore videos all day. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy them. Plague Monks are like the new Daughters of Cain. That is a great comparison. The only thing that I think they're very similar in terms of lots of base attacks without rend and that kind of stuff. I think what makes them interesting and different is that Daughters of Cain with certain temples can build in such a way that they really focus on resiliency. There's a lot of save after the saves with those things. Whereas these guys, their built-in easy-to-get buffs are all about more and more attacks. So they can actually put out more damage, I think, than a Daughters of Cain unit, but they evaporate. And so I like it. Speed Savant, I suspect that Free People and Stormcast are going to synergize well. What do you think, 2+? Yeah, I think they're great. I mean, if you just use Stormcast as a shield wall and the guns of the people, I think that'd be a great idea. Is there anything you'd like to see, like a return to the old Empire detachment rules? They actually have that. They're in the General's Handbook right now. Check it out and catch the fever. I think they're awesome. Let's see. All right. Crown Blade is painting old plastic GW walls and fences. That's some of the best kits. Sweet. Okay, so I'm all caught up there. Go back down to the downward facing cam. Just clear some stuff off my screen. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea for the army right now. It's just focusing on Plague Monks. I can speed paint hordes of dudes for days. Like that is the easiest thing for me to do. And that is definitely a thing that this army would require, is that kind of ability to just... Actually, he's standing up pretty well. Let me just have him... I always like when a model is trying to dry, I always try to like lean it against something until it's settled, like the glue settles a bit. Always try for that anyway. But they're standing up pretty well. Okay, so we're gonna rapid fire through the basic bros. Let's see. That means I need 17 more heads. I always prefer the heads that have like the faces covered. Makes them look more menacing, I think. Beyond those things, I don't have a whole lot of plans for the army. I guess what I really want to do is get it working and just do a few practice games with it to make sure like this is something I enjoy. That's why I think it's important to start with something that requires minimal investment. Because what if I start playing Pestilence? I'm like, just like with the Scryer, I was like, this isn't it for me. It is definitely more in my wheelhouse in terms of I tend to really like armies that do melee damage rather than shooting, as evidenced by my complete inability to play Carriage and Overlords well. But, I don't know. Mostly I think it'd just be fun, because, like, you know, Scryer has this way of, like, overcharging the weapons and blowing up, and you just laugh when it fails. Like, last night, I overcharged 2 spells, the Arch Warlock and the Bombardier, and both of those spells totally failed, and they blew themselves up. They didn't die, but they hurt themselves dramatically. And then I tried to overload the Bombardier's gun, and that super blew up in his face. That was bad. Yeah, so a lot of blowing myself up. Point is, I think that Pestilence will allow me to have that same level of fun, where it's just like, this might totally not work. If you can handle that many rats coming at you, I just lose. But that's fine. I'll have fun during the whole time. So yeah. Let's see. Question from Daniel: can a musician, flag bearer, etc. attack with the same weapon as the rest of the unit? Yes, they basically just exist to show that you have access to those special rules still. But they do attack just like everybody else. Which is neato. Steven Chan, hey Doug, what's up? Got my basic Trog herd done. Now you're going to play a game with him tomorrow. Sweet. Sounds exciting. Tab says, how many points is the practice list? Well, we also came up with a 1,000 point variant, and I'll actually pull that up here. Let's see. Go here, go to Vanguard. We basically just took this same thing and slimmed it down. So we'll get rid of the Congregation of Filth, Virulent Procession, Vermintide. I can't remember what unit sizes we had. Boom. Yeah, I think this is it. So for 980 points, I'll pull it back up here. It would be the Corruptor, the Plague Priest on Furnace, 2 units of Plague Monks, that same battalion, the Congregation of Filth, which is the Furnace and 2 units of Plague Monks. And so that whole thing is still 2 drops. 85 wounds between all that. And just, it can still just be a whole lot of trouble. So that's kind of the 1,000 point, I guess, goal for right now. That's actually what I'm going to be building towards with the stuff that I get in the mail today. It's like this will be that second unit of Plague Monks, the unit of 20. Which is totally fine. And then I got the starter kit, so it has the Plague Furnace in there with the models that are coming in the mail today with a patron I traded models with. He got some KO stuff that I wasn't going to build anytime soon, and I got a whole bunch of Skaven junk. So it's a Vermin Lord kit and a bunch of Plague Monks. So I'll have enough to build this little 1K list, and I can at least get my toes wet with this. So that is exciting. Let's see. Space Savant, my friend mine has some of the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle boxes with the stacks of clan rats. Going to be fielding 200 of the little things against me. That is terrifying. And I suggest you have a comfy chair to sit in while you do that, because he's going to take forever to move those suckers. Let's see. Daniel says, is having multiple in a big unit worth it rather than having only 20 per se? When you talk about Daniel, can you explain a little bit more? What kind of unit are you referring to? Because some units have a definite, like, 1 in 20 models can carry blank, so you don't have the option to have a whole lot of anything. So I need a little clarification on what unit you're talking about there, and we can dig into the rules. Happy to help. Let's see, get these guys out of the way. Nikos, now you're not late to the party. We're just chilling and chatting about Clan Pestilence. Aurelian, thank you for the awesome content. Hey, thank you for being awesome. So, yeah, this is kind of the idea right here for the 1,000 points. And this is the kind of thing where I actually have enough room in my KR case to... Well, I can't really take this to Nova. I can. I have to decide to take this over the Scryer stuff because these 2 kits are huge. Like, I would need to buy foam specifically for those 2 things. And they take up a lot of room. That's fine. If I play it and I really enjoy it, I might swap that out. Still sticking with Skaven, but we'll see. What's cool is... The only downside is... So the Vermlord Corruptor is a wizard who doesn't have access to the Skaven spell thing, and that's just... It's something that I understand why they did it. I just think it's super funny, because then you have to buy an endless spell or use realm spells for them to get access to much of anything. All of their signature spells are top-notch. But, yeah. Let's see. Brandon says, playing with 2 Doom Wheels and 9 Storm Fiends, this is going to be fun. That sounds like an absolute blast. At some point, like, I'm not clearing out the Scryer stuff just yet because I want to play with a Doom Wheel so bad. So bad. Mainly because I see it used in Warhammer Total War, and I'm just like, yes. I think it's Jate or Jate92. Hey Doug, I'm Swunky on Patreon. Oh hey, I'm a little curious. Did you end up buying any of the legacy Skaven models to use in your army? I didn't. I was looking at them, thinking about it. I was like, well, if I'm really and I am pretty committed at least to this for most of the year. To take them to Nova and that kind of stuff. But I was looking at them. I was like, none of them really just stuck out to me. I don't have the nostalgia factor when it comes to those things. And so, I don't know. None of them screamed at me that I needed them. So, I passed. And it's one of those things that, everyone who ever had Skaven in Warhammer Fantasy Battles probably has 10 of those things in their basement. So I don't feel like they're as rare as they are for some other factions. Let's see. Adrian, question. How do you feel about proxying terrain pieces? The Moonshine is very expensive for a terrain piece, but seems like a necessity for Gloomspite. I would say I am total. This is different person to person, of course, but if someone was like, hey, Doug, I don't have enough money for a Loon Shrine, I would try to pick out the biggest piece of terrain available at the store and say, we're going to play the next couple games pretending this is a Loon Shrine. Proxy it, exactly, just like you said. And then eventually I'd want them to have it, but there's no urgency to it. Like most things, if you just want to experiment with it, just do it. It's whatever. If you're going to an event, that's super different. But I don't see a problem with it. I'm a pretty lenient guy. As long as I know what it's supposed to be. That's where I get... The only time I really don't like proxies is when you can't tell what it's supposed to be. One terrain piece, not a big deal. If it's an entire army, like that one time we were watching Doom and Darkness do a recap of his last event, or one of the events he went to. I don't know if it was the last one. He goes to a lot. Where someone proxied an entire, I think, Phoenix Guard army, something like that. I don't remember what it was, but he used just all kinds of crazy models. They were just all over the place. Had no idea what was supposed to be what. And he said it wasn't that big a deal because I could keep track of it. And I'm watching his pictures in his battle report. And I'm like, you just told me what all these things are. And I, as a viewer, can't keep up with this. So that would really frustrate me. So the point is, one terrain piece, don't worry about it. Entire army, probably don't do that. Nico says, keep up your good work. Watched all your videos in 2 weeks while painting. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for what I assume is the massive bump in watch time. Thank you. Danny Royce has put a sort of judgment on that bad boy. Yeah, on the Verminlord Corruptor in this list, absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't think I still had it shifted to the camera. So, yeah. Steven Chan says, I regret not buying Throg now since I didn't know he could have been used as a Trog boss. I did not know that either. Interesting stuff. Taylor says, whoa, I thought you were going Storm Fiends. Yeah, I talked about this a little bit with my patrons. I played maybe 6 games with Scryer now, and I'm just not into the Warper Spark tokens, the thing that makes them unique. I don't really like the battalion they have. And the units, I guess when I think about the things that I enjoy about the game, it's like melee aggression. And they do not have any kind of melee aggressive unit. The Storm Fiends can be good in combat if you build them the right way, but even then, most of the time they are a mixed arms kind of thing. And so I'm still going to the plan is right now to bring the Scryer to Nova as a travel army because it is super elite. But as far as my local games, Skaven is so diverse, I can build a myriad of different things and still have the same army and still get use out of ubiquitous stuff like Gnawholes. And so, I'm just kind of exploring the faction. It's kind of everything I wanted out of, frankly, Slaves to Darkness, where you can build just a few units and play it in very different ways. So, yeah, right now, as far as getting competitive locally in my scene, I think right now the emphasis in my brain is Clan Pestilence because it plays the way that I'm more familiar with, which is hero phase, buff everything up. Movement phase, run forward. Charge phase, attack phase. You know what I mean? Like it's very straightforward. Whereas with the Warp Spark tokens, I'm constantly like making decisions about what I want to use, what I don't want to use, risk reward, and I just find it very taxing, which is good for someone who's very good at this game. Like they want to have those options and those levers to pull and that kind of stuff. For me, I find it mentally exhausting, and I don't want to do that. I don't want it to feel like work. So that is kind of where I am at. Let's see here. Sorry, this is a bit off topic. Let me see here. But which would be your dream and nightmare opponent-wise for your Skaven that you're building? Well, if I go pestilence-wise, my nightmare would be anything that can clear hordes easily. And that actually could be Scryer, with Warp Fire throwers being absolutely nuts. It could be Gaunt Summoners, because they can weed out huge portions of horde units with their spell. Yeah, if I go Scryer, well, I just figured out what I'm afraid of last night, which would be Night Haunt, because the big thing about Scryer is all their stuff has rend, and it's really good rend. Like, amazing, but none of that matters against Night Haunt, and so it just ended up being very, very pillow-fisted and doing absolutely nothing, and I got slaughtered. I deleted one unit, and he took out my entire army. So, yeah. Let's see. Nikos, my cat broke my Nagash. Oh, no. I had to rebuy and repaint him. What else to listen to other than your lore videos, by the way? Greetings from Greece. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry about your cat ruining everything. I also have a cat who ruins things. Taylor asks, have you thought about running Maggotkin Plague Monks? I'm a bigger fan of Pestilence and Eshin than any of the others. Sadly, Eshin is getting the raw deal yet again. Yeah, they are. It's pretty rough to be a full Eshin army. I've thought about the Maggotkin things, and part of it is I think the gnaw hole is super important, and I think the Verminlord Warpseer is super important. He wouldn't be able to sit in there, because the thing is with the Pestilence army that I'm thinking of, right? So you have this huge mass of Plague Monks, okay? And buffing them, and also its threat by itself is the Plague Furnace. And up here earlier was my 2,000 point list idea, where you also have 4 units of Plague Monks, 2 things of Plague Furnaces, a Verminlord Warpseer, and a Verminlord Corruptor. Like, individually, there's like 4 major threats. And so my bar, when I was talking to Jack from Ruling Ones, is he's like, I wouldn't know what to shoot. He has a shooting Stormcast army and has to drop down and pick out a prime target, and he'll eliminate one of anything, right? So if you're bringing in a Nagash list, your Nagash is dead. Straight up. Like, and the rest of it's just running out of time on the clock. But when you have so many threats, like a Verminlord Warpseer, you can drop major amounts of spell damage, and he's not bad in combat, but he just doesn't die. A Corruptor that has the Sword of Judgment that's just barfing attacks. I mean, just insanity. And then if you focus on either of those, you're missing the like 100 Plague Monks that are screaming at you that can be, on the charge, 7 attacks each. Like, it's just brutal. There's too much to shoot. There's too much to fight. And there's too many command points. Like, I can just battle shock immunity a lot of these things. And so, that's kind of the main crux of the army. So, I don't know how I got down that tangent. But anyway, as far as like switching over to Maggotkin, I lose quite a few things. I lose the Warpseer because he doesn't have the Nurgle keyword. The battalions still work, but what I get in exchange for that is trees. And run and charge is awesome. The thing is I don't necessarily need I don't know how much I benefit. You know what I mean? The things that I lose to the things I benefit, I'm not sure about. I'm kind of on the fence about that, but I will try it eventually. If you get one more unit of clan rats, you can just bring whatever. It is true, and that's been said multiple times. The thing is that a unit of 20 clan rats, like, sucks on ice. It's not good. It exists to die. And as I said before, I want my units to do something before I start pulling them off the table. And they run forward and they sit there and they die and they do no damage. So they're a boring thing. So to me, this is me personally. Let's see here. You guys are active today. I love it. Let me share the screen. You can see all these cool chats going on. Brandon says, start out going with like 2,500 points of Scryer only when I started out, and now I have like 5,000 points of Skaven. Whoa, that's amazing. Do you think it is possible and worth it to run both Beasts of Chaos and Plague Monks in a Nurgle list? Well, it is possible because you can use Ungor to fulfill your battle line because they will get the Nurgle keyword from that battalion, and they're just battle line. So that would work. You can make the army function that way. I don't actually have my Beast of Chaos book near me to verify what goes in the battalion, but I believe it is possible. Whether it's the best, I don't know. I mean, the big thing you get from running Nurgle is that you get the trees that can let you run and charge, but the Beasts of Chaos can do that already. Like, they're already built to be super aggressive, so what complements the Beasts of Chaos in that instance really well are Plague Bearers, because the Beasts of Chaos can run forward and be super aggressive up front, and then the Plague Bearers can sit back on an objective and just not be moved. And those things, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. But Plague Monks are also fast and aggressive and lots of attacks. I think they'll do more work than the Beasts of Chaos, but I think at the end of the day, it's just a lot of an army that will evaporate very, very quickly. Truthfully. Taylor says, fighting Nighthaunt is tough. Yeah, dude. Thomas says, will you make a paint tutorial on your Plague Monks? I will. It will definitely be a speed painting tutorial because basically what I'm planning to do, actually, sorry, wrong camera. What I'm planning to do for these guys is there is a scheme in the book where I'll try to hold it up here, where all the robes are green. So I'm going to prime them all green from like Army Painter, some darker green color. And then the shawls, like the actual hood that they wear that goes up around their shoulders, that's going to be like a really dirty white. I'm torn between white or purple. There's a purple scheme in the book, the old Clan Pestilence Battle Tome, that looks dope. So I don't know. But I'm going to do a few test ones and see how it looks. But the idea is, how can I make these quickly and efficiently as possible, which is kind of my system for everything that I build. And that's pretty much it. So let's go back to clipping some stuff off sprues. I'm just going to read off comments as I see them. I was going to go in more detail about the pestilence stuff. You guys are asking great questions. So let's see. This is my favorite comment ever. Jesus, the Nighthaunt match sounded rough. Sending you endless prayers. I think I'm going to turn that into a meme. Sending you thoughts and endless prayers. Let's see. Adrian said, Crypt Flayers could be a nightmare for the rats with their screams and their low bravery. I mean, that's just an army-wide thing. The highest bravery in this faction is like 4 from the Storm Fiends. I mean, like, as far as a general unit, that's nothing that I build is going to change that. At a certain point, Age of Sigmar is advanced rock, paper, scissors for adults with expendable income. And sometimes stuff just better than other things. Like, for example, your screams will always be good against Pestilence or Skaven and Beasts of Chaos. There will never be an instance where the Crypt Flayer screams will not be good against those things. So, yeah, I don't know. It just is what it is. But, you know, that's one of those things. When you start thinking about an army, all of them have weaknesses. And that is A-okay. For example, when we played, you won on objectives, but I tore your army to shred with the Scryer stuff. And that's because that's what I was good at. As opposed to the Scryer when I couldn't land a shot. Let's see here. Nighthaunt are overestimated. Daughters of Cain eats them for breakfast. See, the thing is, Renato, with Daughters of Cain, is they have the same potential that the Plague Monks have, which is I can put out a massive number of rendless attacks, and since Nighthaunt don't care about rend, that advantage kind of goes away, and it becomes sheer weight of dice, of which Nighthaunt do suffer from. I don't think Nighthaunt are overestimated. I think that a lot of things in the game have just kind of over time leaned towards high rend shooting in particular, and that they are just the answer to that. I mean, they just don't care straight up, which is funny, and I love it. 15, 16, 17. That should be that. Okay. What's annoying is they don't actually have the arms separated, so like you can tell which one goes on which side, and that is infuriating. Like they don't have like this whole sprue of left arms are kind of like scattered in throughout. Okay, so there's that. So you gotta like hunt for all the left arms in this entire thing. Okay, here's one. You see he's catching up here. Democles says, "Hey-o, hey dude." Let's see. Tyler asks, is that a 2K list? Dude, I want to run that list so bad. One of my favorite models. This is a 1K list. I'm not sure how well it shows up resolution-wise on your screen here. I just had up here a 2,000 point variant, which is just another Congregation of Filth, the Virulent Procession, which makes this all a 1-drop, and then you add in a Vermin Lord Warpseer to make it a 2-drop, but it presents so many different kinds of threats that it is truly terrifying. In theory. Haven't played it yet, but I don't know. When I brought my Beasts of Chaos to my local event, that was the first time I really engaged with my local gaming group as far as like the competitive gamers. And there just were not a lot of Horde army players, and there weren't a lot of answers to them. And so I was like, oh, this could be something to exploit. And so I think that's kind of in my thought process is just like, I can just have more guys. I mean, it's an objectives game. You have to have more dudes than your opponent on an objective. And I think that's definitely a good win condition for Skaven armies in general, but certainly pestilence stuff. The only part of this kit I don't understand is these weird little mini rats. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's like a rat that is half the height of a Skaven wielding like a huge blade that's like his entire body size. You're like, what is it? There's nothing in the rules that's like, here's a mini rat familiar to help you fight off stuff. It's just a dude. And you're like, okay, we're doing this, I guess. So I need 5, 10, 15, and I need 2 more. 1 and 2. Perfect. Sweet. Cool thing is when you get all the arms and sweat off, you can just rapid fire, like, clean them up and glue them on real quick, which makes it really easy to pay attention to the chat. Let's see. Slow day at work. Awesome. Well, they can be good days at work. Depends on what you do. But let's see. Oliver Bite. Oh, greetings from Germany. Hello. Hi there. Oliver Bite says, how does Skaven deal / go against Sylvaneth? Greetings from Slovenia. Hello. Honestly, I have not played Sylvaneth a ton. Shu from Rerolling Ones owns Sylvaneth, and he's just now dipping his toe into some of the more complex things like the battle battalions and stuff like that. He's just been doing that more recently. So I haven't really had a chance to fully go on against them, I think, like in a really good head-to-head matchup. As far as what I know about Sylvaneth, well, the cool thing is that battalion that I came up with, the Virulent Procession, the mega battalion of battalions, lets the Vermin Lord Corruptor pick a terrain feature and everything, all my opponents' things within 3 inches on a 4-up take D3 mortal wounds, which, if you're hiding in trees, is a good thing. Beyond that, I don't really know as far as how to Skaven deal with it. I mean, like, honestly, most answers for things is going to be Warp Lightning Cannon, if I'm honest. Because you can. I did it before where I overcharged it and dealt out 12 mortal wounds. It is possible, and it doesn't take a whole lot to get there. Beyond that, I don't know. If you are a Sylvaneth player, I'm not sure what they're like. I'm not sure how Sylvaneth win. By that I just mean like, what are they really good at? Like I said, this comes from inexperience, not saying the faction is bad. I also don't see a whole lot of battle reports with them, like where people are trying to do their best. Let's see. Autistic Gerald says, do the white hoodies. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because I like the idea of white stuff with Nurgle, because white being typically a color associated with purity or enlightenment and that kind of stuff, being on something that is so filthy and grotesque and nasty. I like that, extreme. This doesn't make sense. So, Jante92 says, had about the same experience in my latest 2,000 point Flesh Eater Courts army versus Seraphon. He ended up diving with his rippers and devouring my zombie dragon in one turn, and then putting up his Slann on the Balefire Vortex, just gaining 3 summon points minimum per turn. Picking up my heroes with teleporting like skinks. Ugh. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think, man, Seraphon are brutal. I have played against Seraphon a number of times. They just kick my teeth in. The ability to just throw models wherever in an objectives-based game, you're just like, oh my god, this is so good. Let's see. Tau Dark says, question. Saw Ruling One's video last week. Thoughts on them trying to steal your lore content glory? Should we get pitchforks now or wait? I like that one. No, they can steal whatever they want. Honestly, there have been, I think, at least half a dozen folks who have come to me and said, hey, Doug, this is like through Facebook or Instagram or, however they reach out to me. It doesn't matter to me. Or email. Hey, Doug, listen, I was thinking about starting a lore channel, but I didn't want to step on your toes. And I hope that I don't ever seem unapproachable and that this is like my topic and no one ever talks about it but me. Like, I encourage people to start making YouTube content as much as possible. You want to cover lore? Cover lore. I only suggest that you just try and be different, like, to stand out. I talked about our Vandus on our, I think it's how you pronounce it, on our channel. He does more like fan fiction type stuff, which I'm like, yes, do more of that. That's awesome. The thing is, I started the channel because no one was talking about Age of Sigmar, which is a game that I thought was cool before General's Handbook came out. I know you were joking, but I'm making a serious point about this for no reason. No one was talking about it, and I thought it was cool, so it would seem really silly if I was someone who was like, then got very possessive of this. I'm like, no, like everyone, we need more content. And I'm excited for it. Let's see. Brad Summerhays says, I've decided to run Order Draconis, Dragons and Cavalry, then Ally and Phoenix Guard, and the Anointed as Infantry, as they are my favorite look of models. Would this be good to play with, though? I'm going to tell you, they are brutal. I played against Order Draconis army once. I think at the time, I had just painted my roommate at the time, his Khorne Bloodbound army. So I was just playing with it. Like, it wasn't something that I normally play. I remember that. And he absolutely just wiped the floor with me. Like, it wasn't even a game. Like, there are just some games where they're just not really a game. Some folks said there was a stream crash, but it still shows it's live on my end. So let me know if you're still having trouble. I'm still getting chats, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with YouTube's. YouTube's been acting very weird lately for me, unfortunately. If you want to make sure that you don't miss stuff or whatever, like, I really do suggest checking out stuff on Twitch, because YouTube's done weird stuff lately where, like, Videos don't compile properly, and all of a sudden the audio is out of sync with the video. It's just strange stuff. Twitch has no problem with it. I just use mini rats as plague monks. Yeah, I'm sure that makes perfect sense. Why not? Schnoodly, hi. Hello, I like that name. Taylor says, hey Doug, where's the best place I can get some small bits for my bases? My Zinch demons are all from Jamon, and I want to have them be littered with treasure and trinkets. Ooh, I don't really know with bits and stuff. I find them online every once in a while, but I assume there are probably really cool companies that do like little resin bits just for details and that kind of stuff. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. Democles, and yeah, playing against Nighthaunt last league, they shrugged off my new ballistas -2 rend. Yeah, dude, that's the same problem that Jack faces with his. So we have a number of players here locally who like they'll take Nagash and then a bunch of Nighthaunt stuff like Grimghast Reapers and that kind of junk. And so, like I said before, Jack's shooting army, it's really great at picking out prime targets. If your list is built around a single thing, or maybe like 2 or 3 models, he will drop down with the ballistas and the raptors and just absolutely ruin your day. Like in the best way possible. He's really good at the game. Super look up to him. The thing is that, man, like if you are someone who can shrug off that kind of stuff, he's in for a bad day. Just straight up. So I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Brent says, imagine running 8 rat ogres when they die. You just use your master molder command ability and they come back on a 4-up. Yep. And that's in the battalion. That's amazing. Now, of course, half your games it won't happen. But, I mean, the glory of molder is that it's, like 1+ unit of rat ogre, so you can just take a whole bunch of them. And then mathematically speaking, on average, you will get a couple back, which is super cool. So and that's one of the things I say about, like, I think Molder has game. It's not reliable. It's not going to be top tier, but I think it can surprise people, which is important when it comes to winning, honestly. So, yeah. Renato says, any plans to visit Warhammer Fest in UK one year? Honestly, I want to go to Nottingham and that kind of stuff so badly. You have no idea. I think it won't happen in 2019, but I was hoping for 2020. That'd be kind of cool. If GW is still put up with me until then. Jason Streamer gave into the delusion. Flesh Eater Courts. I actually, so a local gentleman reached out to me. I didn't ask for his name, so I won't give it. But he basically said, like, hey, I saw, I was at Mox Boarding House, and someone told me about how you donated your orc army to the fire relief down in Florida, which I did. And that guy, just update on that. Like, he was so pumped to get the orcs that were already built and somewhat painted. Well, they were mostly painted. That they were having a fundraiser tournament at the store, and he just immediately unboxed them and jumped in. That made my day when I heard that. Anyway. So yeah, he was so like just very like I guess inspired by my doing that he was like, hey, I have the Flesh Eater half of the Carrion Empire box set. Would you like it? I want to pay it forward, basically. And so I got that from him. It's in my closet, and it's gonna be a long while till that happens. But 1 second here. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, just gonna head out.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you. Drive safe.
Okay, bye.
That was lovely, Miss Jess, just checking in with us. But yeah, no, it was so inspiring. I was like, that's super kind of him. So yeah, so I actually have that set just sitting in my shelf. Like I said, honestly, when I was talking to Jack about like the way that I enjoy playing the game, like the armies that I like, one of my first thoughts was, oh, well, why don't I pause the Skaven? Well, not pause instead of like not play them, but I mean focus on the Flesh Eater Courts to be my tournament army, basically. And I thought about it some more. I'm like, but Plague Monks kind of do the same thing. Just a whole lot of bodies scrambling with a lot of base attacks, kind of like ghouls do. I was like, yeah, they're basically the same thing. On some levels, they can be. So, yeah, all I have to say, I have flesh eater quartz. At some point, I will paint them. I'm going to probably use them as another painting project, kind of like I do with the KO, where I have them, I paint them for fun, and then they decorate my shelf. They make great what are they? Background material from a shelf, and that's basically it. I'm actually going to go with super hardcore Bretonian schemes on all the cloth and stuff like that. That is the current idea that I have in my head. Plus, I think they'd be a fun army just to bring, especially because I do a lot of demo games lately. They'd be a fun one to show off. Let's see. MMXCI. Drycha can deal with a horde unit well. Okay, that's awesome. I'll keep an eye out for that. I've never seen anyone run Drycha person like in real life. On the internet I have, but never in the flesh. Let's see. Lorenzo said, I took 12 mortals to the face from a warp lightning cannon a few days ago. I'm still tending the burn. Yeah, dude. Or a hero warp fire flinger. Yeah, so what Adrian's referring to in there in the chat is in one game against her and her flesh eater quartz, the warp lightning cannon dealt 12 mortal wounds to a arch regent who he shrugged off one of them with his deathless minion save, but it still took 11 mortal wounds and just poofed him away. And in the same game, because of the way a charge wrapped around him without touching him, a warp flamethrower dude, because he overcharged it and you just measure out how many of the enemy unit is within 8 inches, he had 30 ghouls around him and just rolled 60 dice and got like 30 some odd mortal wounds and deleted the unit by himself. That dude, I don't have a name for him yet, but he earned one. I love it. Let's see. And the idea of Bone Ripper having like 4 of those things strapped to him is amazing. Okay, I got some folks saying that the Twitch never, or the stream never goofed up on their end, so I'll just chalk it up to YouTube being funny in certain areas of the world. Maybe they just get tired of Americans broadcasting to Europe this time of day. They're like, you know what? We're all trying to go to bed. We're all trying to unwind. We don't need nerds talking about Age of Sigmar. Let's see. Green is pretty blasé on Nurgle, all about dark purples, bile yellows, etc. That's cool. I dig it. I want them. The reason is like I'm kind of doing like just slightly off schemes of all of the traditional colors. Like Scryer has a lot of blues, like the kind of gray blue. So are mine, but they have a super hot rod red accent color, like the tabards and that kind of stuff. So for these, I was thinking the same thing. Have a traditional color mixed with an accent thing that's different. So the green robes and the white hoods and that kind of stuff I think would be a cool combo. So it makes them easily identifiable, but also have a little bit of a piece of flair, if you will. Let's see here. Sweet. Okay. Glad to hear it's working generally for most people. Let's see. Twitch Red is Twitch God. Yes. I love it. Legion of Ashgore does pretty solid versus Night Haunt. Huh. Dang. I never thought about Legion of Ashgore, honestly. Let's see. Bring him on, Free Jack from the chat. I think Jack's working. I'm not sure that's working. Cody asks, what is your favorite Skaven clan? Thematically, Scryer. I think play-wise, I think I'm going to enjoy Pestilence more. The reason is I love the mad scientist aesthetic, like the steampunk technology and that kind of stuff from Scryer that they offer. I just think the aggressive melee-oriented stuff with like very, very straightforward with the prayers and the synergies, I think I'm going to enjoy more on a play level from Pestilence. So. But I remember when I was younger, like the first... one of the earlier Warhammer, I guess, times I bumped into that IP was playing a PlayStation game called Shadow of the Horned Rat. And in that, they had a whole bunch of what we would now know as Scryer stuff. But it was just like rats having all kinds of crazy contraptions. I don't know if they were necessarily Scryer in that game. It's been so long I can't even remember, but that was a fun game. I wish they would remake that. Or at least make it mobile. There's no reason. It would probably be like 32 megabytes, or yeah, whatever. Like just the smallest possible. I'm not techie, I don't know that stuff, but game size, because it used to be on a PS1 disc. Let's see. I'm gonna try not to skip ahead in the chat, but I'm falling really far behind because you guys are super chatty and I love it. Doug, come to California. We can have narrative game. I will get right on that. Two things I hate in life. It's sun and heat, of which you guys have in bounties. Jate says, you're bringing so much positivity to this community. Aw, thank you so much. People like you that make me excited to play. Aw, thank you so much. Let's see. I just think of them as studio armies for your bat reps. Yeah, that'd be cool. And I did roughly 1,000-ish points for each side on the first battle report I did, and I can't fathom going much higher than that because it's so much editing already. The more units you add, it just kind of stacks up monumentally. So probably would not go a lot bigger than 1,000 points. What I'm really excited for is to do narrative battle reports for Warcry, where I can really focus in on just a few dudes and have that be a cool thing. Let's see, Stephen Chan, if Warhammer miniatures were like the toys from Toy Story, they would get heartbroken when Doug sells them. Oh yeah, like my toys would be the super evil jaded bear from like one of the sequels. That's like, humans don't care about us, we all simply play things. All of my miniatures would be like disillusioned. They would be what the Idoneth Deepkin are in the lore, which is like, our father has abandoned us. we must make it on our own. I have no father, he is dead to me. That would basically be the story behind all of my armies. Somewhere in the world right now, there's like bone splitters crying, and I love it. Just says it was really a beautiful thing to donate the Zorks. Hope the Warhammer community can continue to shine. Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. So much positivity. I love it. It's such a far cry from where we started 3 years ago. Let's see. Taylor says, I need to sell some of my armies. I have way too much stuff. It's almost embarrassing. I did a little purge a while ago. I was like, I made that video about like I was raising funds. Go check out my eBay page. And I cleaned out a whole bunch of stuff. Just projects that were just sitting there. To the point where I almost didn't want to accept those Flesh Eater Courts from the guy. I was like, no, this is an army I want to do. I'm very passionate about their lore. Look, I know I want them, and I know I want them eventually. So when I got those from him, I immediately went and bought a Start Collecting box for them. I was like, oh, now I have everything. When I get to do that project, I'll have everything I need. And then last night I was like, I don't really want to focus on them right now, so I just exchanged it for a pestilence box. That's why I'm building these guys right now. But yeah, it felt good to clear everything out, to be honest with you. Let's see. My scheme is beige with orange and dark gray. I like that. That sounds cool. Jate says, but Doug, what are your thoughts on GW re-releasing armies and adding new box set exclusive models that are just objectively better versions, Regent and Scryer, of their older counterparts? Bad taste. Well, I don't mind it, provided, and this is a big provided, that those kits are released on their own eventually. And then they have a pretty good track record with the last few they've done of doing that. Now, it'll take a couple months. I think hopefully it won't take as long with these two, because the hype for those armies is at its peak right now, right? Like, people want that Bombardier, people want that Arch Regent. As far as like the practice of doing it in general, what I assume, this is without any evidence, is that part of the reason they do it is that they have a huge stock of some of those kits, like the Scryer kits, and they build that into a way to like clear out some inventory while introducing new products and new entry points for players and people to start new armies and that kind of thing. So I'm fine with it in the sense of like just moving product, clearing things out, making room for more stuff, only as long as those kits are released separately later. I can't think of one where they didn't. The one exclusive thing that I wish, or I think they really, really should have released it separately, of all things, is the wheel for Nurgle that came in Blight War. I hate the fact that that thing is not anywhere else available. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. You can get Horticulus Slime Mix or like that. You can get the model that was exclusive in there, but you cannot get the stinking wheel, which is, having played the Maggotkin rules without the actual physical wheel when I was on Reeling Ones at one point, and then seeing my opponent use it in a game, I was like, I wanted that. I wanted that so bad. I don't know why that thing just stuck out to me so much. But I get it. You know, as far as being an objectively better thing, I'm more cool with the Archregent because lore-wise, he represents an escalation of things. Like, he is not just a better version of a Ghoul King. He represents, as a character, a fundamental change in the way the faction works. Like, not gameplay-wise, you know, he's still just a hero, as are all heroes, just heroes. But I'm the Bombardier. I get it. The thing is, the only other Bombardier models are either the metal ones that I own and I don't like, or the one that came in Island of Blood, which they didn't carry anything over from Island of Blood. They just had metal variants for everything else, which is so annoying. But yeah, let's see here. Hope they do a Flesh Eater Underworld's warband and expand their total units by 25%. Yeah, no joke. That's a solid criticism, and I find hilarious. It basically would. It would just drastically increase the number of units they have available, for sure. I kind of think about that as I kind of generally restrict myself to Pestilence or Scryer. You know, both of them. They're pretty limited pools of models, which is why I'm not getting rid of the clan rat, so I can always do an expanded Skaven Tide army. But yeah, individually, each clan does not have a whole lot to pull from. Scryer, I think, has the most, because they have the weapons teams and the Doom Wheel and all that stuff, so I think they're probably in the best place, but in terms of model range support. But even then, some of those models are metal and junk. I mean, they're just, no. It's a mix. It's a hodgepodge. In regards to your Legion of Asgore comment, bringing, my goodness, they have the worst names to pronounce, Akshay with them is nutty. Any unit with flying that moves more than 6 inches, roll a d6 on a 4, take a mortal wound. That's pretty fun. Sweet. I love it. Imagine, if you will, corn Skaven. Just all that frothing nibbler all out to get some milk for the cornflakes. I love it. Byron says Deepkin faction looks fun to paint, but you could have real vibrant color schemes. Yeah, that's actually something I was interested in when I was doing my Tzeentch demons I was painting up. Where it was like some armies just lend themselves to really fun and vibrant out there paint schemes, and I think that's definitely one. Like, how many other armies look that fit with like extreme coral colors? So, like, there's not many, and I think that's awesome. I think it's great to have armies that just fit different kinds of color palettes. I think we're pretty set on the metallics with Stormcast, and we're pretty set on the dark stuff with, you know, the blacks and those kinds of things when it comes to chaos. But yeah, let's see. Mike says, "Give me the Contagion Wheel." Yeah, I want that so bad, right? It's dumb that it's not separate. I as a Slaves to Darkness player with the potential to play Maggotkin, right? Because I can mark everything Nurgle. I would buy that wheel. I'm like, yes. I'm not going to use it anytime soon, but I will buy this just to have it. at a certain point, they're just printing money, and you're just like, come on. That's how he says the most negative thing is that it's not a new model rule-wise, just a stronger version of an existing war scroll. That's not. I mean, the Bombardier is a different unit than an engineer, because he has the big world-ending gun. I don't know. They are different. I mean, I think that they are fundamentally different, but I understand they're not different enough. I think is the bigger problem. Let's see. Just want something more creative, especially for an army that has just different troops consisting of 2 kits. For sure. For sure. And that's totally reasonable, I think. I wish that Death had more monsters, like more just straight up monsters for them to have in their faction. You know, if they had like the Bone Giant, you know, like being a skeletal giant was really, really cool. That kind of stuff. I think all that would go a really long way. Let's see. Tony says, "Hey Doug, hey there. Recently bought more Scryer acolytes. Came in metal. Wanted to die." Yeah, I think later today I'm gonna try to run a GW. I ordered the Skaven War Scroll cards, and I can't remember if I ordered 2 or 3 sets of the actual acolytes to mix them in with my kit bashed ones to make them look like they fit a little better, like just appearance wise. So I'm kind of excited to go check those out, but yeah, we'll see. Brendan, don't do what I did and lose yourself into buying Skaven. Trust me, you'll regret. You know, I mean, so far I'm having a blast. I'm finding out the things that I like about the game in general. Like I said, simplicity, and I think a melee focus definitely are more Doug. But yeah, I don't know. Some of it, honestly, like people, it's a strange army because, you know, people know that I hobby swap and that kind of stuff. You know, I trade armies quite a bit, but knowing that still, several people since I started this project have reached out to me and been like, dude, I've got 10,000 points of Skaven from when I used to play in fantasy battles. Like, can I send you some of this, or can we trade stuff? Like, I've had multiple people offer me, and it's incredibly kind every single time. My thought is just like, people just have so many Skaven things. It's ridiculous. I love it. It's just an army that people love. Let me readjust my chair here. Let me just, here we go. It's easier when I'm editing videos to set up a little bit higher. When I'm leaning in to paint, it helps to lower the seat a smidge. Okay. Let's see. Jarl says, yeah, Bombardier is a range character. Engineer is more melee focused. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like I said, I would like it if they were more different. If, like, the classic engineers focused on melee, like their spell to do the damage, and also their melee stuff. Whereas the new guy, like, instead of having the supercharging his warp lightning generator thing, like, he was all about supercharging the bazooka. Like, he had no magic, just supercharge the bazooka. I think that'd be kind of cool, because then you can, like, weigh, do you want mortal wounds, or do you want a possibly bigger attack coming from a ranged attack, you know, a possibly bigger damage coming from a ranged attack. There's, like, cool choices there, but they kind of made them the exact same. I wish they were more different. Let me see here. That's what you do. You just balance it on somebody else. All right. Schnooly says, do you ever think we'll see new destruction factions that aren't existing races? Yeah. I mean, most of the Ironjaw's range wasn't a thing when the game came over from Fantasy Battles. It was just Ardboys and some other stuff. But I definitely do. I definitely think that is the Grand Alliance that has the least amount of love for no discernible reason. And is the biggest bummer for it. And I don't know why that's the case, but it just kind of is. Like, I'm not sure, like, design-wise, why the company didn't. It doesn't seem like they invested as much time and energy into creating stuff for destruction as they did everything else. But, just as this current, I guess, campaign era is all about death, my hope is at some point there will be one that focuses on destruction. And I think that makes perfect sense. I did a video, like, on the possible future of destruction forever ago, but the idea being that, like, they are the perfect narrative counterbalance to Nagash because he focuses on order in the sense of having everything be uniform and under his control, right? Not order as in the good guys. Whereas the sheer anarchy and that kind of stuff is a good pushback to that, and I think I would love it. Shinley says, I'm kind of surprised with all the realms. There's like no bird race besides the chaos dudes. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about a bird race. I was thinking more about the Arch Regent. Same stats with one more wound. Same spell, D3 attacks instead of 1. Same command ability, but instead of 10 ghouls. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do agree with you. It wasn't a pushback as far as the new models, but I think lore-wise he has more meaning in why he exists than model-wise. Like he is one that lore-wise I think was very important and a great thing to add. But yeah. What would be your next dream reveal after Khorne? Oh, if I could pick anything after Khorne? Free peoples, I'm very emphatic on that train as far as we need free people so badly. But if I had to pick one that I don't talk about all the time, Gutbusters, or some kind of unified ogre thing. We need destruction, needs some love. Plus, Gutbusters is just sweet. They got some cool models, some cool sculpts. I love. I do like armies, even though I don't play any of them. You wouldn't know it. Where it's just a few models that are like a lot of wounds, a lot of toughness. It's one of the things that drew me actually to playing Stormcast at one point, where I was just like, this is just like 12 dudes. And they're just like, there are 24 wounds amongst them. It's amazing. It's one of the things I love about it's why I still keep my Slaves to Darkness with my Chaos Warriors. There's just a lot of beef packed into those little packages. You know what I mean? Where it's just like 2 wounds each with a 4-up save is nice. I think I haven't actually played ogres in quite some time. It was against Max at Let's Play Cafe, but I think it was like 4 or 5 wounds per dude with a 5-up save. Like, that's so much fun to just roll those things around. So Iron Jaws are up there. I mean, I'm just going to say destruction in general, but if I had to pick one, I'd say the faction that has the least representation so far. So, yeah. Brent says GW is too busy giving Stormcast more and more models instead of more and more destruction. They do give Stormcast quite a bit. Okay. Let's see. Would you accept Ironweld, Free Peoples, and Dispossessed in one combined Skaven-style tome, or is it blasphemous? I would love it if Ironweld and Free People were in one tome. I want Dispossessed to be in a single tome with Fire Slayers and KO. I want a Dwarden tome. The Book of Short People. Grudges, if you will. Mainly because if you combine them that way, I don't feel like the Dispossessed... No, they lose some cannons because some of their cannons are in Ironweld, but I feel like what they gain is a whole bunch of cannons from Carriage and Overlords, and that's not a bad trade if the book is balanced so that they can do better shooting. So that would be my thought. This way, both those factions, the humans get their guns and tanks and all that stuff like that, but also the Dispossessed still have access to cannons that are still very thematic to them, but now they're with the other Dwarden stuff that all kind of needs an update. I haven't thought about Fire Slayers in forever, but I think they do. They just very like there's one way to play them. It's just a whole lot of the Berserker dudes. Sorry, I just get this glue to dry here. But yeah, that would certainly be my hope, is that bring all the Dwarden together, bring all of the human stuff together. I don't know what they're doing with elves. They're just kind of out there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. There we go. Need something for him to lean on. Give me 1 second. There we go. Got to set everyone up so they can all dry. Too bad Skaven don't have a tank model. It'd be kind of fun. It'd be a rickety old tank. I would love to see a wooden tank. You're like, why? I'm sure someone can convert a Doom wheel that looks like a wooden tank. That would just, why? I love it. Doesn't keep you protected from anything. Valerian, please. Yeah, no joke. Used to Stormcast. These bases look so tiny. Yeah, so these are Rat Ogres on 50 mil, and then these are the 25 mil rounds, so they're tiny little things. But in units of 20, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, and I have 2 extra bases. I assume those are for, like, I don't know, something. Maybe the little mini rat that has no purpose. Give him a base. I just want to make sure I built everybody. So that is sweet. I would love the disparate elf factions to have a tome, like Darkling Covings, Phoenix Guard, and Wanderers. Yeah, you know what's interesting is, so I put a video out that had a theory that the way that they restructured their website was just an inkling of what was coming. And they did that with Skaven, the Goblins, the Gits, what we now call Gloomspite Gits, a bunch of stuff. So, like, I still think that that's the way to go, like what they're going to do in the future. The only thing, and I said it in that video, was like, I can't wrap my head around having all of the Elven factions be in one. And that's how they are on their website right now. So I'm like, I don't get it. So, I don't know. A mounted dwarf unit of bear riders or some other existing beast stuff, that'd be sweet. Do you have any cool design ideas you're willing to share? Design ideas as far as, like, what do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean, but I'm happy to share anything. Let's see. Nikos, have a good night, my friend. I'm going to go drink some beer and listen to metal. That's awesome. Go for it. Enjoy your time at sea, my friend. Yeah, what design ideas are you talking about, Mr. 92? We'll talk about that. Pop my back. All right. Trying to think how many of these dudes you can fit going across this thing. I was talking about this unit being a bridge. And clan rats are the same base size. You could probably get maybe 4 or 5 wide across. That'd be kind of cool. Okay. This is the Skaven Tide spell. You can run across if you are a Skaven unit. Looks like everyone's standing up straight. I'm going to put some nickels in the bottom of those banner bears that tip over. Ooh. That is it. That is 20 Plague Monks done. Cocked, locked, and ready to rock. This guy is not. He keeps tipping over. Design ideas about new models. What would I like to see? I want to see some steampunky humans that bring in some of the more fantastic, I don't know, inventions and stuff like that we hear about in the books. I want to see sky pirate goblins. Yeah, I don't know. Schneerly says, I'm assembling Solid Star Ballista, and I'm not enjoying the push fit. Oh, no. I've not heard the best things about their push fit ballistas. Brennan asks, how long is the stream going to be? I'm probably going to wrap it up here in a little bit. My voice is going out. I've had rough voice ever since allergies started kicking up. But I wanted to hang out as much as I could because on Sunday I am leaving for Iowa to go visit some family for a bit. And won't be able to stream at that point because I'll be far away from my computer and with family and stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. Brent says Cogfort. Yeah, totally. Cogfort would be amazing. Let's see. Do you still like your older how to make narrative armies and new characters? Yeah. Do I still like do I still stand by those videos? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it still applies. The second edition didn't really drastically change anything. Let's see. Are you going to be back in time for Adepticon? I will be coming home here. So let's see. We leave on Sunday and we get back on basically Friday. It's like Thursday at midnight, right? So basically Friday morning. So yeah, I'll be able to cover stuff for Adepticon live, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, so I'm excited. So we'll review the Adepticon stuff. So that'll give me a chance to so let's see. If it comes out Thursday night, on Friday after I wake up, I'll do a live stream. Because usually Thursday nights is when they do their big reveal. So Friday morning, we'll have a huge talk about things that were spoiled and junk. So stay tuned for that. So actually, yeah, I guess because I do this stream at this time on Fridays, it probably won't affect being live for you fine people. So scratch that. I'll see y'all next week for sure then. Beyond that, let me try to get everyone here dry and standing up. And I am going to go pull up this page. Let's see. Okay. Well, raising my Guinness stout to you then. That's awesome. Do any of you guys live in Iowa? I'm kind of curious. I don't actually know if anyone I broadcast to lives in Iowa. It'd be kind of cool to meet somebody in person. I can't bring anything to play, but we can just hang out. Possibly. Don't hold me to that. But anyway, I'm going to hop off here. Thank you all so much for watching. And like I said, I'll catch you next week when it comes to the trip. Brad, thank you so much. His reveal seminar is Wednesday night. I'll just have to wait until Friday, unfortunately. But that is what it is. I'll be away, and I don't want to miss any time with my family. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will talk to you all soon. I'm going to try to get a bunch of lore videos recorded today and tomorrow and schedule them out so you won't miss a beat this coming week. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time.